Good morning, everybody. This is Kent Davis reporting to you live from El Cangrejo. Appreciate all of you joining us as you're starting to trickle in. Today is May 29th, and as you know, I do this once a week, every time at 11 a.m. So look forward to any questions or comments you might have. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and let's get started, shall we? To give you an update on what's going on in Panama first, the big news is that the quarantine's been lifted, and we're all very excited about that. Starting on Monday, Block 2 companies will be open, and people will be free to roam the street regardless of their number of cédula, or their ID number, or their sex. As you all know, for the last, 9 weeks or so, Panama has been under one of the strongest quarantines in the region, which is every other day. Depending on your ID number, you have a 2-hour window to go out, grocery shopping, banking, medical, etc. So that's going to be a really, really nice boost to industry. We're all waiting for it and looking forward to it. So again, if you're just joining us, the quarantine has been lifted starting Monday. Block 2 companies will be open. Restaurants, not yet. Parks and recreational areas at, I think, 25% occupancy, which means you can now go to the park. We're excited about that. In other related news, Copa has issued a comunicado that they will be opening up again at 10% capacity starting June 26th. So all indications are in less than a month, international travel will start once again. For those of us checking in from the United States, the routes that Copa will be offering are Houston and San Francisco. I haven't seen any guidance from United, haven't seen anything from Spirit, not sure on European routes, but Copa, for one, has announced that, assuming they will be allowed to, which all indications point to yes, they are going to be starting again on June 26th. Woohoo! So that's great news too. We're excited about that. And that's obviously going to be very good news for the real estate industry. You know, one thing that's worth noting, guys, is that Panama, our GDP is only 14% dependent on tourism versus a place like, say, Belize or some of the parts of the Caribbean, which are 70, 80% of their economy. In Panama, 14% of our GDP is from tourism, which means that, yes, we are going to be hit, but we're not going to be decimated, as they say, for other countries that are almost entirely, or economies that are almost entirely dependent on tourism. So that's good news. We're excited to get back to normal. For all of you checking in this morning, I'm Kent Davis, Managing Director of Panama Equity, and we do this every week. So, hey, Barbara, Mark, and Andrea, thank you for your comments. I would love to hear where you guys are checking in from. Matthew, thank you. United is also going to be doing their flights as soon as Tocumen opens. So, again, great news. It's been a really good week for new information in Panama. So let's get into real estate to give you guys some updates on what's selling, what's sold, what can we expect coming down the line. Big news for us is one of our most expensive listings that we've ever published, which is a $7 million property in Venao, actually just to the south west of Playa Venao. $7 million. 93-hectare property was sold this last week. Now, if we had sold it, I'd probably be reporting to you from Las Vegas, or at least, somewhere else where I would be more celebratory. But at the end of the day, it's very good news for the market. It means that there's that kind of investor confidence where a property listed at $7 million. Now, did it sell for $7 million? Probably not. That's $7.50 a meter for what had, I believe, I visited the property. It had, let's call it, probably about 700 meters of beachfront. beautiful white sand, blue water, awesome fishing, surfing right around the bend from Playa Venal. 93 hectares, $7 million property sold. Yes, we didn't sell it. Somebody bought it. That's great news, guys. It means there's major investor confidence in that area. Let's see what gets developed. It's hard to say. Best use for that, maybe a tourism project, maybe housing development, or maybe just a land bank, because it's such a beautiful area. So anyway, hey, we got Maine. Sonia, thank you for your comments. Always curious where people are watching us from. We've been doing this for almost 3 months now, where I hop on Facebook Live and give you guys an update on what's going on. If you're just joining us, we're talking about a few massive sales that happened this past week, along with Copa announcing formally that they'll be at 10% of their operation, which is baby steps, starting June 26th. So Sonia, hope you guys make it down here for your annual trip. I tell you what, I mean, Matthew's on the line. Matthew's one of our salespeople. He can tell you we are flat out busy with people who can't wait to get back down here. We're also been busy with some price reductions. So in the last, let's see, I looked at this right before I hopped online. In the last 3 months, we've had 22 price reductions out of our inventory of 408 properties. So that's about 5%. In other words, 5% of our sellers have reached out to us, or we've engaged them directly to reduce their listing price. That's interesting. You know, in some cases, you might have thought, gee whiz, you know, if it's going to be a really bad market, then wouldn't more sellers have dropped their price to get ahead of it? And it looks like there are some sellers that, want to get ahead of this COVID. There are other sellers that say, you know what, let's wait and see. And if the last month is any indication on interest of people coming to Panama, it's very positive. I mean, we're averaging about 40 to 50 new engagements every week of people writing to us on real estate related topics, i.e., hey, we're thinking about buying. Hey, we're thinking about selling. Hey, we're down here now. What can we look at? All of my agents are going to be out showing properties starting Monday. Some of them have already started showing properties. We were in El Cangrejo today showing Zafiro unit, which is really interesting. Offers this last week we presented. There was a Grand Bay offer, which is a oceanfront 100 meter, I think it's 101 meter unit that we've got. 1 bedroom could be converted to 2. We received an offer of $1,654 a meter. So, of course, that's just a very small indication of interest in terms of like one data point, right? We were out showing properties. We also had some other offers I'll tell you about here in a little bit, but it's something, right? In terms of it's something to gauge where buyer interest is at in terms of, all right, below $1,700 a meter, we've got an investor who thinks that that's the right price to get in based on being able to rent that property for, what do you say, probably about $1,000 to $1,100 a month would be inappropriate. So, you know, we're still seeing net yields or cap rates at around 3.5 to 4, which means that for every $100,000 you spend on a property, you can expect to get between $3,500 and $4,000 clear at the end of the year. That's about what we're seeing. We haven't seen rents come down dramatically, nor have prices. I think everybody's just waiting. And Monday is when the wait is over. Monday is when everybody can get out and start showing properties. Monday is when sellers can get a sense of what they can expect to be selling for. So that's the story. Let's see, what other information can I give you? Who else is selling? Developers. Believe it or not, I talked to a couple big developers this last week, and they have taken reservations. They are moving buyers through the pipeline. We didn't do any developer sales this last week, but we've got a developer offering 30% down, 5-year financing at 4% interest. That's about 2 points better than most banks are doing. And 2 points on 6 is like what, 40%? In other words, we have a developer offering interest rates at 40% lower than the banks are offering, with 30% down, 5-year carry. Now that's a short carry, but keep in mind, after 5 years of paying this mortgage, now you're going to be even more bankable in Panama. So it's a nice entry-level entry-level transition into getting traditional financing is going with these developers. So to answer the question about what's selling in Panama right now during quarantine, obviously we've got this massive lot in Playa Venal that closed, $7 million, 93 hectares, or about $7.50 a meter listing price, probably sold for closer to, who knows, under $5 a meter. And that's beachfront, titled, beautiful. Also, we've got some developer inventory that is absolutely sold, both out at the beach in projects like Gorgona and in the city in projects in Costa del Este. In fact, this developer is selling a project that's Airbnb friendly. So anyway, there is an offer, a 185. Hey, keep us updated. Cool, good. So that's $18.50 a meter. Thank you. I don't think you're going to find too many other agents being so transparent about what offers are coming in at, but it's important to give the rest of the public a sense of what's the appetite, what can you expect, what are we seeing on the ground, troops in the battle, what's selling, what people are offering in at. So here's another data point for you that's going to be really interesting playing forward. Right now, we've got about 16,000 developer inventory units, either in construction or planned for construction. Okay? Where do we get that information? Galeria Inmobiliaria. They're awesome. Colombian agency. They do developer surveys. They check the price list every week to update absorption. In other words, if last week Mr. Developer told me he had 100 units and this week Mr. Developer told me he had 95 units, therefore 5 units sold in a week. That's their metric, right? They go on what developers report. So sometimes developers can report, maybe not as transparent. Hopefully everybody's being transparent. Point is, and where I'm going with this that's very interesting, is that right now, of those roughly, what did I say, about 16,000, 18,000 properties under construction, I've got the number and I didn't check ahead of time, but here's the important part. 37% of that number is in pre-sale, which means that in 3 to 4 years, we're going to have 30% more inventory than what we have today if everybody starts building. But they're not going to start building. They're going to rethink. They're going to say, all right, post-COVID, demand, bank financing, etc. I think, guys, it's very possible that of those 37% of inventory, which represents about 5,000 units, actually it's 10,000, which means that we've got more like 30,000. 369. Mark's fast on math. What's the math there? 37% of X equals. So yeah, hold on. Do the math real quick. Oops. Yeah, that didn't work. Anyway, I think we've got about 30,000. No, it is more like 18,000 available units. Let me check my article that I wrote. And actually, I was going to reference that in today's Facebook Live. So we wrote an article about 2.5 months ago, before all this really came to a head, to try to give the public a sense of what to expect. And in that article, we talked about specifically how our collections were doing on our rental units. But we also talked about what could happen in the market based on new supply. So let me go down to that section and I will share that article right now in Facebook. If I can do that. Yep. Here's the article. So you guys can see it. And I am going to where I mentioned the number of developers and units. So yeah, 30% equals 10,000. So that means 40,000 units for a 12. Yeah, probably about 37,000 units coming online, of which about 10,000 of those are in pre-sales. My point here, guys, sorry for the doing math in my head. my point here, guys, is it's very possible that we're going to have 10,000 less units in the next 3 years because projects have stopped or might not resume building. And that's actually great news for anybody that's already bought or thinking about buying. Because at the end of the day, one of Panama's biggest challenges, one of the reasons it was such a buyer's market is because we got a lot of developers that started building or started, promoting and then building about, let's call it 6 years ago. And the market slowed down a lot about 2 years ago. But developers didn't slow down proportionally. I think COVID is going to be some medicine for some of these developers that say, you know what, let's build something else. Let's build a shopping center. Let's build a recreation facility, or let's just wait, right? Let's sit on a couple of years. So anyway, that's trying to share some insight and trying to get ahead of what could happen in this market. The point here, guys, is stuff is still selling. All of my team are out showing properties. And for those that physically can't or are concerned about COVID, which is totally reasonable, of course, we're taking precautions as a company. But come Monday, there are going to be no restrictions on getting out on the street, which is great news. I think that next week's Facebook Live is going to be exceptionally interesting because then I'll be able to report on the last week's showings. So stay tuned for that. I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions. I don't think I'm offline here. Normally we get boom, boom, boom. But anyway, guys, hope this message finds you all well. I'm going to be checking off now or signing off now. Have a great day. Ciao.